Yeah, we go to one chat. Yeah, can you hear me? Okay, okay, good. Oh, Sanjay Chodon, Soji Chonamla, Changsho, Bodon, Yasoji, Dagi, Chinsu, Tibes, and the Pola, Ninjas, Sanjay, Sanjay, Chodon, Soji, Changsho, Bardo, Lane, Yasoji, Tibes, Sonam, Rola, Benji, Sanjay, Sanjay, Chodon, Soji, Changsho, Bardo, Lane, Yasoji, Lane, Rola bence sanki doğan dezojende doğru konularda ve medyasan kurulu böyle paketi sence şimdi görüyorlar çağrı
I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the highest supreme assembly. By the virtuous merit that I collect by practicing giving and other perfections, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Ya da something loose. I didn't know something loose in Gomazu Wendelia, and the Jessup Jiggy, the Turkey Chapenala, Ani Bishitua, the Yan and Chimbo. Tumon the Tumo Mayimbi. More than tomorrow may be she need you to be something looks to research to what. But then in a church. Chetan rounds of Shinedi the tomorrow is to be any chiggy. Sorry. Number sign you be tomorrow my back Kijikama. The Chirubegi Chirubay to do Yaba. 아니 지금 가봐도 지루가 있네 비교해봐. 아니 가봐도 그래서 그래. 수름이 약간 좀. 인터벤이 뭐 괜찮다. 엔터넷 소야 뭐지 이거 봐서. 아니 샘기 민남 장방도 보자. 뭐 정말 재미나. I think 그냥 지금 상대적 공항당 지금 돈용어선도 도시에 도지 지금 저는 그 지금 부자 타도 그런 줄 있다. 지금 맨날 경제에서 깨라심부터 자주스는 동반이 내신 되게 가고서 계셔도 봐. 어디에도 두야지 치료벌이네 요. 하나 봐도 지금
The something they get to go came into us. The Shambadins couple does the deep problem to go.
The Kabus came at this. Kajansana, Tandadi, Zodi, Manjugi, Zosem Naming Sotoya de Gönchta, Dian Naming di Banguchi and Neta Chimon, the Govani, Narone, and Gavati. Any Havado the venue. The day Leon does and any devenue montan, Chenduki Sambaji Demo, Chiji Leona. Aranjingi, Unco Surim the Lapua. The Lavia till Dene, Unco Tumongi, she need to prepare. That tomorrow my ambition to do the day, down around and the Junjun song a day. But on the tomorrow my ambition to dance.
I say,
Junjun song a day. 단다 투모다 투모의 비니 유럽에 나르네 투모의 부당지 송거래 조데 투모의 부득주 안 나바도 다 그래서 그래 something 를 그도야 다시 냠제지 조래 봐 그래서 다시 냠제 유관에 시도점별 조데 랑 진진 le juan do de che ane shen che ba zhen jin jing sambo ti dang a zhen ma so mi zhou de sha qi de ne xin de dan de so.
So before we really get going on the chapter on something which is a meditative absorption, then I think it's useful to look at the outline of Gyaltsab Je's commentary, where he taught, where the first outline of the kind of textual outline of the 8th chapter, he talks about a kind of common practices of calm abiding, the methods of training in meditative absorption, which contain both practices of calm abiding which are common with other traditions, and then practices of calm abiding which are uncommon to this particular tradition. And when we think about calm abiding or shamatha in terms of common and uncommon, then in terms of the kind of common kinds of accomplishment of calm abiding, then this happens. This, of course, when we talk about being common, we're talking about it being in common with essentially with non-Buddhist traditions. So any tradition which is non-Buddhist, and the way that which that, and the reason why we say that is because in terms of if we were to see the faults of kind of desire itself, and then everything that stems from that, then we could build a good platform of ethical discipline and accumulate merit and accumulate merit. But then this on the basis of that, one could create a kind of create a basis for then practicing concentration or meditative absorption or concentration. But that doesn't take into account these other. So also in terms of that, if we were just to see how the distracted mind, the faults and disadvantages of the distracted mind, and the faults, so seeing the faults of desire, seeing the faults of the distracted mind, and developing the wish to be free from those faults of distraction and the desirous mind that leads us into that, then it's possible for non-Buddhist traditions to develop calm abiding and then these meditative absorbed states. So that is sort of in terms of what we would call common path of calm abiding. But here, but that doesn't take into account, particularly in the Mahayana Buddhist context, in the Buddhist context, the practices which are then based on that, such as the meditation on emptiness and eventually the direct realization of emptiness, and then also, of course, the development of the enlightened mind, the bodhicitta, the mind wishing for enlightenment. And so here in Shantideva's text, if we look at whether he's mainly presenting the kind of meditative absorption from a common perspective or from a kind of more specific or uncommon perspective, then we find that because here he's focusing on the development of bodhicitta. One of the main parts of the chapter is the development of the meditative practice of equalizing an exchange of self and others, which is one of the main methods of developing the mind of enlightenment, and within that, then talking about the seeing the faults of self-cherishing, and then making as our main focal point the mind which cherishes others. And so therefore this draws us into kind of the context of the Bodhisattva or Mahayana path, and therefore it would be considered to be the uncommon kind of way of cultivating, cultivating because shamatha tribadegi the common and uncommon the karipage time right or she might be kugi chedu karichegi to be in stoshi kazana shamatha and the ko sem sechi to make barwa yene di ganla nanzu digi sem maya mato and shembedin sunan the dashin yamje do she tapje chegi do but then there's a basis do she digi shini ran re
shini di sem tem ta chi Kare sem tem tangi sido jembe migo dile migni sem tem bude tapshi do se wa ata dila tanda junju ne ta tomo mayimba ko sumya di tomo sumya di ko yeya ba tomo mayimba sumya di tanda so shinje
shini korangi shenche person below the sechi to make bottle. Yeah, so I was trying to sort of elicit from Rinpoche whether we're talking about on the basis of the calm abiding mind, then using that for different purposes, or but what Rinpoche so what he says is that actually it's so yes, there are these sort of common practices where you focus on it. Your main purpose is just the ability to develop concentration by focusing on one particular object, and then it's not necessarily used for further purposes. But here we're actually talking about developing a calm, abiding, concentrated mind, which then is becomes the part of that becomes the focusing single-pointedly on the mind, focusing single-pointedly on cherishing others, and so that's how it becomes uncommon.
Okay. Nedi, okay. Also,
She can't hear him.
okay. Did Oh, that okay.
That's
Okay. Yes. That was a bit different. That pena shine ki bigwala ta tenga samla tan jyor pena lagul mi ni shine ndobya jikshi gwa
cool.
아니 닝질 mi ni shine dudan jik songyo 아니 chanju samla mi ni shine dubye songcho ba tanda de tadi pena 저기 곰 디 가서 그래 신의 접단 대조를 삼로당당 직니 접지매로다 배나 신남 공부도 터남 공부스 지진이 숨고봐 배나 인지 공부스도 준비 인지 시제도 시 비게 아주 하고는 시 고디 보게 지금 인지세 샤도 공대에 손으로 들여라 있으면 인지 공부한테 인지 공부세도 저 초학기부터 초원 전부터 야기 공부했다 또 준비해 식제 전주 셈디야 다가랑 또 그렇지 다양한 전주 셈디니 계획이다 땡데를 가르쳐고 그래 슬랍도 셈베 네 전주 셈 계획이 아니 당하람도 남땡기 나와 델레야 아니 아란주 셈 계획이 미국 가를 미기래서 셈젤 미기 한 셈젤 신이다 또 그것도 된대지 용 초도 와 제장가 남주 빼져나로야 신남고보다 tö남고바 세나 신세지 로디 딩오르 계시 고미야지다 로텔 때니 아니 로텔 도시지 아니 변 공부하서로 공부이나 콜신남 고미야 개요 말에 tö남고바도 가기디 공부
좀 알래요
오다 되는 신세지
알래요
그래서 대한도 쓰기 개발지 아주 빼지다 둘라고 봐 되는 신세지
Oshinam,
Shenam go about
Shut the Bushida,
the
so there are thinking about the sort of kind of focal points that are, kind of observed objects of calm abiding and shamatha, then there are all kinds of objects which are mentioned in terms of things like the figure or body of a deity, focusing on compassion. Also is also said about focusing on bodhicitta. But in terms of shamatha, then I feel that there are two kind of in the sort of great text. There's a mention of two different ways of two different kind of aspects of meditating. One is called the aspect where of the conscious aspect, and the other is the kind of objective aspect. So the conscious aspect is where when something like compassion, where you meditate to where the mind that is meditating itself becomes that aspect. So for instance, with compassion, it's not meditating on an external object. It's actually that the point of this kind of subjective or conscious aspect of meditation is that the feeling or the experience of the mind itself is you're not meditating. It's, in one sense, you're not meditating on something. You're meditating by the nature of the mind becoming that thing. So when you're meditating on compassion, the nature of mind becomes compassion. And because I generally something called Dunam, no, but Shenam, yeah. Although the cultivating bodhicitta is also one of these aspects, this kind of conscious aspect. So it's not like meditating on a pot or an external object where you develop a mind which realizes that object, but you're not developing the mind which literally becomes that's called a kind of objective aspect of aspective meditation. So of course there are supportive conditions to the development of the bodhicitta, such as the external there are external conditions to that, such as the guru who reveals the method of practice to us, and also of course one of the focal objects being the sentient beings upon which we develop the mind of enlightenment, or bodhicitta. But the bodhicitta itself becomes the nature of in that meditation, the mind itself, which is meditating, becomes the bodhicitta itself. So it's called it has a conscious or subjective aspect to it.
Penata Jorum Chiki Paju Nere Lama Su Kajushi Kablia Ani Jazanga Tombani Gumshu Sidusambe and Jungurum Chiki Jazanga Mase de Covaldos Ani Pungunani Due Pungun Sharon de Zambe Uncle Amahimbe Data is Situ Sma Doctor Zechi and Garogine 아주 직달 행계리야 아니 샤르데베게 마디파 총총총총총 다는 파 라주제 아니 진행하더 저와 싸워지도 통도 점배 당아 정신기 주변 아들 민도 녀베 달로리아 가난지 끼고 워봐 어디 제지기다 랑은 민도 녀베 로데가라도 세제 셈샤쇼 소도 랑은 메 세도 좀 놈디고 쉬죠 곰디되고요 장군 매 별로 또 건대야 다 이버디 아니 전주 있으면 검당 소리 전주 있으면 검be 갑라야 아니 지게 다신 냠지 선로지 저지 셰베이나 다랑스도 지 현실도 타야봐 지게 디나노네 아니 소소지부 준비는 시행도고 된지가 로데베이나 지금 말했어 많이 다다 셴이 아니 지금 그래서 그래 디두 아니 지금 대화 대화 좀 봐. 동의민도 봐 좀 봐. 안데 내지 뉴스에 Negi Dunga the Trabaji Haku Tabdi, Shanla Madonna Kawanadi, Nambe Lotus, Jewan the Zambe, Chanju Sim Gomdanji Sungu de. I didn't do Yantan you don't when you go on a Shinche, and near Shendon, Chego, Nambe Lotu, Dede, Yomata. That you do Tombanilla, Commune de Zambe, Dame, Nambe Lot, Ranchin you make, Ranchin you do the Dame, Nambe Lot Yechua, Gomba. That Chanju Sim Gomon de Zambe. 전제기 단지 신남 공부도 토남 공부 시지 니 소면의 신체제 다 되는 거면 신 고매면 봐. 다 고가 신남 계고 신남 계 원도 전에 아니 심진기 거든 신부 인단 직선 놓고 아니 심진 대화는 지마로 냐베도 시제다 로도스케 원도 될라 아니 얘기 편도 최고 냐베도 슬로 대대야지 저기에 들어와 아, 제장은 눈번이 인den스도가 눈비 기제라도 전주 쌤도 눈벌 봐. 제장은 눈비 기제 유도점에 고 편은 지모로 네블로도 깬 내대들도 왔다. 제장고 저 계단이들 로가도 왔다. 공개비 걸로 초반이들 로가도 와. 언제는 신체적인 그런 속에 공디 모두 붙이지. 근데 전주 쌤 공부에서도 전주 쌤서 도스대되는 전주 쌤 공부 말해. 전주 쌤의 민 공부 좀 싫어. 명 전육샘스도 그때 명대 공부 잠시만도 좋아하게 얘기해. 또 동반이 공부가블라야. 아 동반에도가 삼면되어 말해. 동바 다가랑 강대에 지르도가. 달하고 로지 미군도 다가랑시 그 시에단들 사된 얘기 왜 여든 얘기 꾸들이 지도 로 다가랑 대대래마도 코리아 아주마손에 두버 KSK요 말봐. 오다 드조디 양코 공개비 걸라야 지기 수수기 신남 공부도 토남 공부 가르강 두고 스티타야 돼 개침으로시.
the 토미 공부는 드남 공부로.
돈이 공부 시도 좀 토남 공부 잘 보고 전주 쓰는 공부도 신남 공부 잘 보고 어디는.
So then we can see a kind of to make this a little bit clearer in talking about this kind of subjective aspect way in which we meditate on things, and the objective way in which we meditate on things. So using the examples of meditating on emptiness and using the example of meditating on the mind of enlightenment. So, for instance, His Holiness often in his teachings, he and of course perhaps other of your gurus will say to you, sometimes in a teaching, okay, now it's time to meditate. You maybe give an explanation and then say, now it's time to meditate on emptiness. And then he says, okay, now, by investigating within the as a designated basis of the person, the aggregates, whether we're searching for that I within that basis of designation. And then we may, having done that, we may get some sense of not being able to find anything, and then maybe kind of a feeling that a kind of sudden feeling that maybe the self doesn't exist inherently or from its own side. So, but this, so this is sort of like so that sense of things is still like a kind of meditation in a kind of objective way. So they're kind of looking at the selflessness of either, a person or a phenomena. And it's, relatively comfortable and she used the word quite convenient or easy to meditate on. But there's still this kind of aspect where the mind is kind of meditating on a quality. These dunams in a semdigi, shengi no doshiti, koya doshiruwa, didoshiruwa. So meditating on it's like the mind is meditating on the nature of something else almost. The mind is the mind is not becoming the nature of the other thing. It's meditating on a kind of, it's more external, but it's meditating on a quality. Now, when we come to, so there's a difference here, and this is how I want to sort of suggest to you the difference is that in this kind of subjective way, when we come, so then His Holiness will also encourage us to meditate on bodhicitta. And in this subjective way, then, perhaps either through the equalization, exchange of self and others, or thoughts beginning with the idea that, I am only one person, and that the other of the sentient beings, all other sentient beings are kind of limitless or endless, and then the feeling that it's really that real kind of hope and wish that they can understanding, that they are exactly the same in us, and not wishing to have any form of suffering, and exactly the same as us in not wishing to wishing to have all forms of happiness, and understanding that in relation to ourselves, and therefore we can in relation to ourselves, and therefore seeing that others would wish for those things too, as a kind of basis for meditations such as exchange and self and others. But what happens is that it's not the same as it's not the same in the way that the meditation on the lack of self, the selflessness of either person or phenomena. The mind is kind of different, because what happens with bodhicitta is that with wishing this kind of subjective way in which we wish for them to have only happiness, and we wish for them to be free of all their suffering, and we also have the wish that we can only be of kind of constructive help and benefit, and that this is a kind of feeling that arises in us when we meditate on this. And this is when we talk about the definition of bodhicitta, we talk about two aspirations which are a kind of contingent part of bodhicitta. And so and this one of them could be this sense in which I only wish to be of benefit, so because the Mingsam said the Chanchuk said Mingsam Kandas
Marati Pena Chanchuk Sim Gongin said Chanchuk Sim to Sichicom Devina, the Chanchuk Sim Ming son of Chicom de Mado Chanchuk Sim Comba Marba. Chanchuk Sim said to them, Chanchuk Sim seeing how much Gomborwa.
So yeah, but it's extremely important that just thinking that we're just having some of these good feelings maybe, or thinking we still have to be careful that the bodhicitta, the mind of enlightenment, has a particular definition, so including these two aspirations, and in order to make sure that we're meditating correctly on bodhicitta, we have to fulfill that definition. So it's not good enough to just sort of feel like I'm meditating on bodhicitta, because it has to also fulfill the kind of definition of bodhicitta. And again, the emptiness, meditating on emptiness, whether it's also meditating on doing deity yoga, where we meditate on the deity, visualize the deity of the body, the deity's body, or the mandala, as being luminous, and the kind of the palace of the deity, or the in a kind of light and luminosity, or meditating on the lack of selflessness, the emptiness of phenomena, then these are kind of ways in which we kind of objectively engage with our meditative object. So I hope maybe you can see the difference between the two. So I'm trying to give you some examples in order to understand this kind of subjective aspect and kind of objective aspect of meditation. So there was one point I missed. So those kind of meditations like emptiness and even the deity yoga, to some extent, lack those aspirations, that feeling of aspiration which arises when we're meditating on bodhicitta, where the mind becomes those very aspirations, and that kind of feeling of it's a different kind of way of engaging with the object.
So let's say it is our kind of a daily commitment from His Holiness to meditate on bodhicitta. So the question really is, how do you meditate on bodhicitta? Is it more like bodhicitta is wonderful? Bodhicitta. That's not even close. We are not getting the main point of meditate, how to meditate on that. So that's why if you are going to meditate on bodhicitta, that means we have to have the feeling of bodhicitta, which is called dumba.
Aspirations.
Aspiration. Or it's more like you need to have very positive energy towards sentient beings. First of all, what is business with all the sentient beings? That is most difficult one. When you are in a good mood, then sentient being, oh, wonderful. And then if you are in a hurry or something, then day-to-day life, on the cushion, the sentient beings are very important. But then right after you leave from your altar or the picture of your guru or Buddha, nowhere there, and then you don't kind of have some kind of appreciation towards sentient being. The sign is, if you go to your office or you have wherever you have a troublemaker, when you are there, bodhicitta is gone. Bodhicitta is at your place, not at where you are at the moment, where it is needed. So that's why it is really necessary person who is really practicing bodhicitta, that he and she needs to have such a close feeling. Even can do what, as we talk about, two kinds of bodhicitta. The aspiration bodhicitta and the engaging bodhicitta. So at least we need the first one. We don't have that. So in order to have the first one, we really need to feel without bodhicitta, with this self-cherishing mind, I will be always in a problem. That we don't have this feeling. We feel like, oh, this bodhicitta is wonderful, but, and we are not going to take out this but. So, so now wherever we are starting our practice on the bodhicitta is, even it's very hard, you really need to see it's necessary to have this. So it is necessary, as a Shantideva has written so this precious way of Bodhisattva's life. He said about, up to now, I've been doing all the things what I've been doing with the self-grasping and self-cherishing. Now I know, I can see myself where I am, where all this mind has brought me to. I can see I have failed myself with this self-cherishing mind. The kind great Shantideva has this feeling, but we don't have this feeling. So now it is really necessary for us to have this feeling. So like this, many of us do lots of practices without this inspiration. So now this is, I think, where I needed to first of all, let's forget about being fully enlightened and liberation, but we are not kind of appreciating the first door to be opened, which is the renunciation, and which is something that you don't have a confidence in you that I can be a superhero and I can save all the sentient beings. That we don't have this feeling. And we don't have, not only we don't have a confidence in ourselves, but we don't have a belief that is in the Buddha. And then we and then we try to take an initiation, and we try to feel like, I want to become Buddha. So now here we go. And then we feel like we are doing it great. Are we doing it on the right way? Big question mark. And every time we do it, we received so many initiations. So when I go to Spiti, then I tell my friends and then the people there in the Spiti, said His Holiness Dalai Lama has visited our place, is very remote place. And then we have few monasteries there. And the people has such a great faith towards His Holiness. So only to the Spiti region, His Holiness came 9 times. And the roads are terrible at the beginning. Now it's a little bit better. At that time, landslide, he walked, the car, and then landslide, he walked. So he visited, gave lots of teaching. In Spiti, the small region is around only not more than 15,000 people, but His Holiness gave 3 color chakra initiations. And then I say, come on, now Spiti people. We have used His Holiness, like whatever he has given to us. We demanded this and this, we want this. He has given everything. But the question really is, what did we got from him? Not just like an imprint of giving the initiation, just imprint. It's a very simple way to say, but real deep imprint is with kind of with the emotions, with the pure faith. That what His Holiness always tried. So that's why His Holiness is the one of the perfect example of all the teacher of the teachers, because he is the one who spends a lots of time giving the preliminary teachings before the initiation. If the initiation takes only 2 days, but His Holiness give 5 days of preliminary teachings. For whom? For us. And he always says, yes, this initiation is very important, but my main emphasis is this one. But we are like, I don't know how we are got this kind of somewhere I feel like maybe there's some kind of a machine that we can take out our brain out and take out all whoever washed our brain, rewash it, and then clean it, and then put it back in. So most important to have this kind of understanding of what His Holiness has taught many times. To understand this, we should know, why should I have the Bodhichitta? Not like Bodhichitta is so interesting, so good, but it's why it's so necessary. Without this, Shantideva thinks, without this, I'm done. I'm done for survival.
Done for. Yeah.
But this, we don't have this. So we have to make this. And then great Kadampa Lama, one time he said something like, once now I have an understanding of Bodhichitta, now wherever I look into the environment, all look so friendly, all look so loving. It's full of blessings everywhere. It's not only the Buddhas are blessing. Each and every sentient being is a blessing to us. That's how the great Kadampa Lama says. So we need this kind of feeling. So go back, I'm going back to the meditating on Bodhichitta now. So now when we talk about Bodhichitta, if not, we don't study about it. We don't hear about the two aspects of the Bodhichitta. And what does this first aspect and the second aspect of the Bodhichitta has to do with me? We don't have this feeling at all. And then if I tell you to meditate on a Bodhichitta, you won't ask the question like, I don't know how to do it, but you will pretend you will know it. I done that in His Holiness teaching. There's some people, I saw some great people, people in the teaching are having tears. I'll go like, can I bring this tear? It's not coming. So now, that's what I'm trying to say. And not only that, also we try to meditate on, when we say shamatha is very important, then we need an object. Then we are trying to have this object, which is the vase in front of me. And then, why the vase? Why this? And the answer should be very clear, that I wanted to stay focused. And that was that I'm going to focus through my meditation. It has to have the mind which is focusing on this vase has to have a ability to reduce our laziness, distraction. How would that come? Try to do it, distraction automatically will come. Closing or without closing your eyes, distraction is always there. And you will have a most wonderful not important, something not important, whatever happened in your life, it will come in. Like you watched before your retreat or meditation, you watch some interesting documentaries or news or maybe TV shows, and then you automatically mind will go there. At that time, we need to have a strong kind of mind discipline, which is not other than the
the
conscientiousness, to bring the mind out from there, and then put back on our focus, which is the was. So bringing, the most difficult is to bring this out from distraction. It's most difficult one. It will be difficult because we don't see this distraction is an obstacle to us. We will only see this obstacle. This is obstacle to bring a focus. But we will never see, if I don't have this focus in my life, I will fail again and again. We don't see this important. But we'll see like, oh, meditation more. So most of us in this current time, because meditation without just thinking nothing, just don't think nothing at all. Maybe bring kind of a, I don't know, kind of peace, which you feel like, don't think about your enemy, don't think about your friend, don't think about anything, just stay like this. But the question really, right after maybe you stayed on this kind of meditation for maybe, let's say, 10 minutes. Right after the 10 minutes, your mind is already distracted, like it goes from maybe temperature like this low and such a high level, very fast it will go. It's more like you wanted to, person who is addicted towards drug or alcohol, he went to somewhere, rehab, for a few days, and then once he sees the alcohol or the drugs, he will go like, I miss it so much. So this is our same case of our distraction. If we don't feel this distraction is an obstacle. So it's very necessary. In order to do this, then Buddha has already said on the first noble truths, know the suffering. He says this because we don't know what is the real suffering. So this is, I think, the important. So from today, when you try to meditate on, so you should really know why you should meditate, and particularly this special meditation. If you're meditating on bodhicitta, or you're meditating on emptiness, before going into the meditation, you have to make 100% sure this is the antidote. This has the answer to this. Otherwise, it is more like you are sleeping. We've been doing this. You are so tired, you are sad, you are full of depression. Then you take a nap. People who has no difficulty to sleep. My case. I have lots of tension and kind of so many problems. I can sleep no problem. So after waking up, then slowly, the problem is still there. And to face this is one of the things that really makes me unhappy. So how are you going to make this ready to challenge this? So this is the most important, because that's why Buddha said all the practitioner first, in order to enjoy the Dharma, has to realize I am as a patient, and the Dharma is the medicine. We don't have this feeling. Unless we don't have this feeling, whatever we are doing, it's more like you're going into a market. You are not going to buy everything. You just like, and maybe your pockets are empty, and you're just looking at it, enjoying. And once you're back at your house, you don't have anything with you. Just like, oh, that's good, I had a great time. But it's here, I think it's more like, unless I don't get this, I will be unhappy. The sufferings will continue. If you have this kind of belief in you, and then some great masters saying like, now from today, my job is only to taking care of my mind. Whatever obstacles will come, distractions will come, I will bring this consciousness stick in front of me. This is my only job. So some great masters have this kind of a commitment. So this is, I think, necessary. So much kind of, I went into so many details. I'm sorry about this. So now we start through the verses. Okay, 다 당부드립니다. Okay. 다 대들 준주 있게내니사 이니 띵해지는 차 선는 넘버를 인위미 녀몬 체베 타나네. 다시네 두고비 좀 생도 정도가. 등엔데 지난데 로시게.
So this first verse kind of explains the reason why we have to cultivate and to accomplish shamatha. So it reads from Stephen Basher's translation: having developed enthusiasm in this way, I should place my mind in concentration. For the man whose mind is distracted dwells between the fangs of disturbing conceptions.
아시베다 개월 어떻게 참자를 해. 다디 참자를 로단디 저장알이야. 아니 준주송지. 다 준주디 아니 저기 아주 개월 또나 개월 또세 들어와. 또세 되거든. 개월 또면은 준주시. 저장한 저기 effort 세디 야보도 요르데 effort 조디 인식이 깨나로 패진 effort 세디 깔래 잡세 소리 좀 고요. 대전배 아니 거랑신 unhealthy 샤도지. 배배기 순주기 친일라 개월 쪼세 주. 부구 중중 주소 니마 강점제지. 아들은 그 산다 강시대. 니마이나 뭐 지로를 배 니마 강 거지기 니마 차고나로 점제비나. 니마 차고 10일 중스 동해대 소리 말해. 고랑기 내가 저거를 고랑 쪽에 점제야다. 또 축지다 쳐지. 내나 신식이 말하는 쪽이 말을 아니 다단다 가서 그래. 전주심이 쩌발 마도 스만자네 마 송은 준비 아니 전주심이 편여연애리 아니 될 때는 디버샤야 이내리 아니 개월 두비야 이내리 방여된 이내리 다도 스만래 온도 준비 다 주주디까지도 또 슈좀 쉽지었다. 다 디벌라 단다 봐도 또 셔버디기 마베 아니 가서 그래. 이게 사모당당다. 이게 최당 쩌바다 대소 상으로 간여 용해야 돼. 주딜이셨다. 란진진당 당진dik 제셨어.
Because of the suicide chip and number than
어디서 와? 란치진. 다 얘기 좋아치서디 개월 좋아치긴 스티걸 좋아치긴 딱 두루요 딱 개월 좋아치고도 좀 근데 그 개월들 좋아치해디 다니 셈템부스 거예요 시르점에 아니 대달 준주께네 다 가르치겠어 대달 준주된데 개월 좋아치는 다 이게 디딩에서 가르쳐요 다 재상을 좋아하고 거야들에서 다 디르
So this first verse is a verse which connects up the 2 chapters on joyous effort, on the 7th chapter on joyous effort and the 8th chapter on meditative absorption. So it's sort of and it explains on the basis of as it reads in the verse, having developed enthusiasm in this way or joyous effort in this way, I should place my mind in concentration. So it sort of it's the joining of those 2 chapters and explaining the reason why we need a joyous effort in order to help us also, and then what that is used for in terms of developing concentration. As we know from the previous chapter, then the understanding of within the understanding of joyous effort, there is this sense of within the definition of it, there's this sense in which we the meaning of joyous effort is to take delight in virtue, whereas in kind of Western traditions, that if we just have the word effort without the sense of joy, then in the Western kind of way of thinking, then effort seems to in some sense to sort of have innate within it a kind of feeling of kind of hard work and struggle, and doesn't have that feeling of delight and joy. And one example that is used in terms, so it has this kind of naturally unhealthy kind of aspect to it in the kind of Western perspective, but in this tradition, what we're translating as joyous effort, sundu, is there's a nice example which is used to explain how that sort of joy is there. For instance, young children who I don't know about in these modern times, but in olden times, the children would go outside to play for hours and hours on end in the heat and the sun, and yet because they took so much delight in their kind of playful activities, then they never would feel the suffering of that. They would never feel that sense of suffering of the heat and other or cold, could be heat or cold, whatever, because they were so absorbed, and the delight in their play, they were so absorbed in that they wouldn't feel those difficulties. So in the same way, we should also, in our when it comes to the conduct of the bodhisattvas, the conduct of the bodhisattva path, whether it's thinking about the benefits of bodhicitta or the laying open of our the kind of confession of the negativities that we've performed, whether it's engaging in virtue or sort of other like conscientious practice of conscientiousness or heedfulness, these different, which are essentially like the different chapters, the preliminary chapters of bodhicitta, then there should be this form of delight. And what we find is that if we look at ourselves, what we do is we take delight, but we take delight in the negative. We don't take delight in, we have a delight, but it's in unconstructive things. And here, what we're being encouraged to do with the joyous effort is to take delight in positive things, and specifically in virtue. And so the first line of the verse then joins that, bringing that sense of delight in virtue, and then placing our minds in concentration. So that's the way in which the 2 chapters are joined. We call it samjo. There's the joining up of 2 topics or chapters. So that's what this first verse is doing.
다 지금 무슨 쇼방한테 님묘군에 준비 단다 투든 취지 다 왔더라 직습이나 이제 10대 12신이 나도 애들 준비 소도죠 말셔봐도 믿음이 쇼방하다 님뷰 템뷰 권에 인소 개월 좀 준비 개봉 빼네 기회 미벌 지거를 주지 템버처 제도 랑기 이니 세지도 내베 띵엔즈는 냠벌 샤버를 제내서 차소기 님보로 미도 공부 소도 개발도 다신 냠바단 제베 창주기 셈 공부 속에 탈로 때네 something 공부를 차고서 시 담바데.
So then I have to translate it off the cuff, but so this Tibetan Chögyal Drapa's commentary, which is a commentary at the moment only available in Tibetan, gives a kind of commentary to this first verse, where essentially he says that it gives us the instruction on the need to cultivate meditative absorption, and then what he says is that the previously mentioned kind of negative, unconducive aspects need to be abandoned, and the antidotes and relying through the door of relying on those antidotes, giving rise, generating joyous effort which takes delight in virtues such as generosity, and generating that and then increasing and intensifying that, and then using it. So on the basis of that, as much as we're able to focus our minds on the focal point of virtue, and make and for the purpose of making that stable and strong, we have the mind kind of engages in a kind of absorption in a single-pointed concentration, concentration, and that acts as and then using that for meditation, such as the antidotes to, such as meditating on the kind of repulsive or unpleasant characteristics of things, which then acts as of things, and that acts as an antidote to our attachment, and then even more specifically, so this is all the reasons for meditating on concentration, and therefore, and then more specifically, the cultivation of the mind of enlightenment through the exchange in self and others. So these we need to meditate on the concentration on the basis of those kind of methods. That's what it says. Sort of.
어디 다 재산가 디나로네 다 개치슈르부터 오들 직시베이나 러뷰수세티 양발 샤네 뇽몽베 뇽부땡고 그래세치 다 양발 샤네 세두점베 가르쳐버렸으나 아니 시탄다 something 들려야 아주 공야고도 셈버템부스 셈버템부 셈버템부 주스니 신의 검지 가르치긴 봤을 때 뇽부땡 actually
Because 셈버템부 게비 짐슨데기
셈버템부 주스니 가르치긴 봤어 뇽부땡 비치도 있어 뇽부땡벌라 셈버템부 주면나 아니 뇽부땡 도움도 없어 저 신의 루고야 돼 가르치는서나 뇽부땡 비치도
So then, but the most important things come in relation to this. It comes from a quote from the Compendium of Trainings, where it states that that what's the reason for creating this stable mind is that on the basis of that stable mind, we're able to then rely on the antidotes to all these other things, such as mentioned here, like the antidote to the attachment through meditation on the unpleasant, and so that's the reason that we try to accomplish this shamatha and generate this stable mind, so that then we're able to rely on using that through deni
Oh,
yeah. So on the basis of that stable, firm shamatha mind, we're then able to properly rely on the antidotes to the other kind of negative minds.
So now ask this question to ourselves. Have we ever felt or asked ourselves, or we wished, have we ever wished that why we want shamatha is to encounter
rely on the antidotes. Yeah, to counteract it.
To counteract.
To rely on the antidote to counteract it.
Why relying on antidote is to counteract the negative emotions. Have you ever felt this? Most of us, we felt like if we have a shamatha, then the problem is gone. We are asked for stable mind. We are not actually asking for wisdom. We just wanted to kind of have we go to dentist, then we put, what is this?
Anesthetic.
Anesthetic.
I had some this afternoon.
And then you feel like the problem is gone. The dentist can do whatever he wants. That's not our way of meditation. The meditation, what Shantideva is teaching us is, we want to have the teeth back and chew, eat more. Right? This is what wisdom works. This is why right after the shamatha, we have vipassana. So the journey doesn't end here. But for our way of the mind is like, I just wanted to escape from the problem. I just want to relax. I want to have a calm mind. That's it. And then calm mind for how long? Can you say, like, when the problem comes, you say, give me 20 minutes. This is not going to work. He said, the enemy will say, we will take your time 20 minutes. Who will say this? So it's more like, you need to be strong to face the problem. You are with your enemy whole day, but you get back to your cushion, you feel like, actually had a difficult day, but I can see some kind of improvement in my mind. I've been stronger than my past few months. I can sit with him. Before, I cannot sit with him for 10 minutes. I can sit with him. I can hear his all nonsense for 2 hours, but still there's no hatred. More compassion is coming. More powerful you become. When you see him tomorrow, you feel like so compassionate. You wanted to go with him. You feel like, oh, he really needs my help. So this is what we are actually looking in the Bodhichitta and the meditation here in the concentration. Concentration.
Yeah.
How do you translate that?
Meditative
Meditation.
Yeah, it's something that is
okay. But now I think the time has Time is up.
The co-tradition Japan, I think, is the Chasogi number Medupa Gomba down Dashin Yamri was over guitar, Denny, something Gomba Chago, Sigua.
The Kaptoki Masim Nemdan. Pena, Pena, Sejik to Nebe Dingins in the number shop, Nes,
Chenero,
Chenes,
yeah,
number Chene, and Nimbu Dingis, Nimbu and the Dingis, Nimbu tell us.
Because the chapel, the chapel, so
Sejik did what they
are.
Junju Penis, Yermi Puella Chico Jujin temperature, Chedu, Rangi in Sejik to Nebe Dingins and a number shop, Chenes, Shine the Dupache.
Yeah.
다 신의 루버 체네 아니 가시게서도 차속이니 뭘 아니 미도 고마다지 다디 그도 자라게 차변이 된다.
예.
다 개발도 아니 하버도 세트래. 다 개발도 하버도 지거래. 다신 냥받은 제외 전주 있으면 공백에 탑을 때네 아니 가르치겠으나 삼대형 공부를 자고서 담아댔어요. 전에 다 신의도 예 somebody stembo yobche somebody yob tela tene ani karjin sudu ta tanda sa karsore nimbu shukcher tayati dil samle
yes
cheza donan tangi tro.
Yeah, I was just asking Rinpoche because in the commentary it sort of it talks in some way about on the basis of the methods of the antidotes to things like attachment and then the antidote to self-cherishing, such as exchange yourself and others. Then it says there's the instruction to cultivate meditative absorption. But actually, so she says is that in the text, the way that it says, maybe I'll translate this and stick it in the group. The way it says it is actually that first of all, you develop a kind of an equipoise on kind of single point of concentration, a kind of equipoise on for the benefit of for the benefit of focusing with that with the joyous effort, then you as much as you can, you focus on virtue and to stabilize that, you create this kind of meditative equipoise, a single point of meditative equipoise with your mind single pointedly focused on that, and then what that does is strengthen. So what I was asking is, it seems the other way around in the commentary, but actually what that does is that concentration then is strengthens the antidotes, and where it mentions the antidote of attachment, the meditating on the unpleasant nature of things, that can also be in a kind of more immediate way. So while you're cultivating these things, there may be a kind of immediate short range kind of attachments, and that they can be dealt with and more specifically the antidote to self-cherishing, and then on the basis of those so those come through the concentration and then are stabilized with the stable concentration. Then those are kind of intensive, the antidotes can be intensified, and our mind is subdued through that intensity of those antidotes. So it was I was a bit confused in the commentary. So it seems to be that you have the antidotes first and then the concentration comes, but she says that in the text it actually says there is the concentration, you deal with the antidotes, and that's how you that's the purpose of meditating. The purpose, it's more like the purpose of.
Let's put this in a simple example. Like if two people got into a fight, then other people will say to the other one, say, if you really want to settle this, let's go out where we have a better place to fight. Here, it's lots of surroundings are not good. So we go out where they have a bigger field, open field, and then we can have a better environment. Like this, here, in order to counteract
Yes.
the negative motion, first, we really need to calm our mind. Then once you have calmed your mind, at that time, the power of this calming your mind down, at that time, there is no much distraction, grasping, and attachment. There won't be much there. It's so plain. And there, now, as your main objective or something that you really wanted to bring, the purpose is now to counteract this negative emotion, the grasping, okay? Self-grasping. Then you can look in self-grasping very clearly how it really deceives you, and how all the all other the rest of the negative emotion arises. It's more like you are looking on the top, from the top of hill, and then looking into the river. Then you can see whole river, not just like very small parts, and then you feel like, oh, no way I can deal with it. So it's more like you are going on up the hill and just looking down at the river, like, now I can see it, the bigger picture. So similarly here, it's calming your mind, and then you can see much more better. It's because of the stable, mind stable, and then you can use this spirit, use your mind as wherever you wanted to let it or to go towards. So then they're saying like, I will use this in order to bring my attachment down. Then you really need to having this kind of practice, you really need to accept, I have this so much attachment inside myself. I have so much anger in myself. I have so much ignorance in myself. Maybe most of us, we can feel it much that you have in here, and you cannot say it loudly. That's why I can prove it. If somebody says you are full of attachment, then you will go like so angry. Because you don't like this. It's a sign like you don't like it. It's good that you don't like the attachment, but it's not that way. It's not that way. How dare he can bring out my privacy things out in publicly? That's more concern. Not because he has proven that I do have that attachment. But Guru says you have a full of attachment. You accept it. But now your enemy starts proving to you, you don't want to hear this. So person. But maybe if you think he's right, then you can. At that part, it's really right. So it's more like you're agreeing with the truth, but you're not ready to this. So it's necessary for the practitioner to see, because the three poisonous mind, as it's say poison, this is poison. This kind of poison is more like the sickness that you cannot share with others. You have this particular disease, and then you don't dare to say about this to the other. And somebody says this to others, that person has this, you go like, how can he say this to others? You go so crazy. In here, your privacy, you whatever inside you, the dark side that you have inside, you have to bring this out loudly. Are you brave enough to do this? Because more you can be brave, you can be brave because the more you can brave towards believing that you have this kind of strongly within this kind of feeling of this negative emotions within you, the more better antidote is there. Unless you don't feel sincerely, no way you can get this precious antidotes. Because you feel like, oh yes, it's so good. Yeah, I can do it tomorrow. Yeah, slowly. So then we are not getting anywhere. So here, this particularly Thubten Shiji Thakur has quoted Labdi, one of the Shantideva's
compendium of training.
What's that?
Compendium of training.
Compendium
of Duba.
or compendium of what's that?
Training or trainings.
This especially people who study where Bodhisattva's life, they normally use this text together, and especially for the something for the meditation chapter. So here, this word is so strong. Searcha toba zerwacha, tene nasu nebacha, nyambar shala zunjashi, midula sokobarcha. This shows you why I need to meditate, how I'm going to use my meditation, and why I'm going to retreat, and how I'm going to counteract negative emotions. In this verse from the compendium of training, very powerful. The Searcha said
So be you.
Nyambu di Dara, Tennis, Nyambu Gagin, Onwe Saba Dubas.
Yeah. So the verse reads, seek sort of hearing, or seek hearing on the what is to practice forbearance in regard to, remain after that, remain in the forest, make joyous effort in equipoise, and meditate on the kind of unpleasant nature of things. And the thing to be sort of foreborn is the so the kind of the patience, accomplish the patience which abandons the kind of counteractive, the forces which are the unconducive conditions to the antidotes.
Because we have studied about patience. So patience is not only like if enemy is saying bad or hurting me, I will try to stay strong. Not only this, more is I cannot practice. I don't have strength to do it. I don't feel doing this. Then you need to have patience. I can do it. I must do it. There's no other choice. This is why I'm born as a human being. I'm going to use this precious human rebirth in order to bring, bring meaningful life. This is where I need to put all my strength. So this way of thinking is all about patience, having patience. Then he says, in order to have this kind of patience, we need to have a good hearing.
Yeah, you're listening to the teaching. So it says listening to the teachings on the unconducive conditions to the antidotes, and then also the understanding the and making effort in the understanding of the what are the conducive conditions and unconducive conditions or negative conditions for the antidotes.
Did watch as a Tunjian Mangdo Turba, Tunjian Situ Zambe, then dig Sober, Drobi Tunjianda, and Tunjitangins.
So then, so the kind of forbearance or patience in regard to needing to abandon the unconducive conditions to the antidote, and the effort which strives, the effort in listening to or hearing the teachings on what are the conducive conditions to those antidotes being produced.
제가 다 제가 님보 제가 님보 야고 때문에 책도 쌤 때문에 주고.
Yeah. So then the primary instruction here is, in order to be able to rely on those the antidotes to all of these negative factors, you have to have a stable mind, a stable concentration, a stable mind. So that's the kind of
되네. 디 용외체도 니에게 나서 never chase.
And in order to accomplish that, then I will go and abide in the forest.
The forest is just an example. The forest, because in the forest you cannot find your friends, enemy, Wi-Fi, or internet. You cannot find this. So also cave, like a Mela River, no forest. Cave. It doesn't mean they go to the forest. And then just I listened to one of the video clips of Serkong Rinpoche. He's saying, in this current time, best way to
to go to isolate ourselves.
To isolate yourself. Or maybe the cell phone is a good example. If you can have a power to keep your cell phone switched off at least 1 hour, and then keep your phone in front of you, switch off 1 hour. This is also
isolation.
Isolation, one of the best. So it's a good teaching. So similarly, it's not about the cell phone only. If you put the mobile switch off, but the radar of this distraction is still on. In the earlier times, no cell phone, but full of distractions. But it's more like you are going to have the main mode, which will not harm the signal of your meditation. No distraction, but still you can use the phone. That's needed. So why I'm not doing this sort of thing? If you can answer, this brings me distraction. When you say distraction, then you can automatically say obstacle. Then obstacle means I cannot become better. I cannot improve myself. If you have this kind of belief in yourself, I think then we all can agree that having this kind of belief, maybe we try to do this for 2 months with having a really great joy of doing this. And then the person who goes into retreat for 3 month retreat, then he comes out, he will say like, I still need to go to do my meditation again. I want you to go back. Then this feeling will come. Otherwise, in the retreat, what will the feeling will be? After first few days, it's exciting, doing something new. And then automatically after 1 week, maybe 1 week is, I'm just saying it, maybe after 2-3 days, then you feel like, I should do this, I must do it. Otherwise, what people will say. And I made a commitment. And if I don't do it, I go to hell. All this, which is never taught, never said by the Guru. The Guru didn't give you this kind of thing. Guru's main emphasis is you will really enjoy it. You do it, you will be a better person. But you don't feel it. You felt like it's samaya. If I break samaya, that wasn't our emphasis. That's your own way of like. So that becomes very unhealthy. So this is the Guru teaching here. So I think if whenever you try to start doing daily practices, retreat or whatever, I think these words will help you to move on, that make your practice go smoothly. That means how to enjoy it, how this will bring benefits. And then slowly, I think we can see the benefits. For an example, in my case, if I go out with my friends, for me it's very easy to serve others. It's more like Rinpoche, let others serve me. Just sit like this. If somebody goes like, serve others first and then second is me, I will feel like, what? Doesn't he recognize me as a Rinpoche? All this. For me, my case, it's been a case for many years back, yes. Now it's not coming. I have no guarantee. But I feel like to serve others, if there's like 3 people, including myself, and there's 3 Momo, and 1 Momo maybe not in good shape, and I can serve the best to the others without any problem. It is never like, I wanted to eat the best, but I should eat it because I'm a Rinpoche. Not like this. But I see with others, there's lots of problem. They have lots of problem, like very fast they go, and good thing they keep it for themselves. I see it. For small thing, I can be cool. It is not a problem. It was a problem for me, not now. But maybe if somebody goes on and giving a huge amount of donation, then it will be a problem for me. If someone gets like a 100 euro and I get 100 rupees, then it's a problem. A problem.
Pounds.
I think how I change into this kind of habit is because I enjoyed doing this. And for others, they don't enjoy this because they feel this, I need the best. And then that becomes very kind of habit towards it's more like habit. For a mother, it's more like a girl who is so arrogant, arrogant, and gives birth to a child, and then she wanted to give the best to the child, and the worst thing she can kill for herself. She will never complain. Once she was like that, but when this habit of change because of the love, the respect, or of the child. But similarly, it kind of worked with me. So it's just a small practice, but then you can make it bigger and bigger. Like His Holiness, I can say during the pandemic, His Holiness was the only one who really had like, when will this pandemic go away? All of us went through this, especially doing business and so on. But so much impact was there. But His Holiness was like, I came in this world to benefit, to meet all the sentient beings, to help. But now this pandemic, it stops between me and the sentient being. And right away, the pandemic is over. His Holiness wants to meet each and every people. Some people request me, you are quite aged now, you need to rest. He says, yes, but my best resting is meeting people. That was opposite for us. Anyway, lots of talking. Sorry for that. So we stop here today. And then probably now, maybe we see now after this, I go to Spiti. So in Spiti, I don't know, we'll have a time to continue this. And maybe let's see how it works. So I will keep you in touch with the group. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Question?
I've been thoroughly investigated in order of 89 due to 4 reasons. Mind-bonded reflection on these topics of contemplation may this discernment sever all doubts. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chinese Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with the dedication and praise as the best by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the 3 times in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread of decline may reveal this treasure of happiness and aid.
Okay, thank you.